The following video was taken from a chapter of Jude Dupere-Duville's science fiction novel entitled The Snapdragon Code, now offered on Amazon Books. Please watch and enjoy.
Anytime you're ready, we can get started. Now, Mr. Rothman, you mentioned last night that you've had a chance to read up on Libet-type experiments. Experiments such as measuring a participant's brain activity during certain tasks. For example, like choosing to press the right or the left button on their test equipment. I believe you said you wanted to see whether or not your brain would begin to register activity before you actually became consciously aware of deciding on a test choice. Is that correct?
Yes, because to be honest with you, Dr. Hawks, I simply cannot accept that I, or anyone else for that matter, am not in control of my own actions. There must be something that either the equipment or the researchers are misinterpreting, and I need to get to the bottom of it.
Well, Mr. Rothman, that is exactly what we are also trying to determine, believe me. However, certain readings that have been shown to occur consistently are hard to dispute. For example, these new computer-based pattern classifiers, or artificial intelligence programs now in use, have been quite accurate in predicting which choice a subject will make, up to 7 seconds before the participants even become aware of what their own decisions will be. So that does seem to indicate that a person's belief that he is acting of his own free will may in fact be false. If it were just that, brain activity pointed to impending intentional action, that would be one thing. However, the fact that micro-patterns of activity in the frontopolar cortex can even predict which choice someone will make roughly 7 to 10 seconds before they are consciously aware of it is certainly much, much harder to dismiss.
Yes, but we also know that final decisions, on one choice over another, can still be reversed. That has also been shown to be true, has it not? What about the activity created by the readiness potential effect? I read that a Dr. Schaefer, over at the Institute of Health in Paris, has found that brain activity naturally fluctuates in slow tides, like the ocean, referring to it as neural noise. Some say it appears to be linked to our breathing, since we are more likely to initiate voluntary movements as we exhale. Are we simply misinterpreting this kind of natural neural noise for some type of outside control of our minds? We must examine this possibility as well. That is one of the areas I want both of you to follow up on as soon as possible. Wait, hold on just a moment. Here it is. I have something here I can show you. Stan says as he pulls out some relevant articles in his top desk drawer. Dr. Schaefer says here that his research shows brain activity diverging at 150 milliseconds before a subject's movement. He points out that's exactly when people reported making decisions or becoming conscious of their decision in the original Libet experiments. In other words, people's awareness of their making a decision matched the exact moment their brains first showed signs of making a decision. So this would debunk Libet's findings. Stan says with a certain sense of confidence that, in fact, his mind controls his brain and not the other way around.
It would, however, I'm not certain I or Dr. Hawks can agree altogether with Dr. Schaefer's interpretation. There are too many other researchers, now using the more sensitive fMRI machines, who would dispute this as well. Nevertheless, I agree with you wholehearted that this avenue of research will be our principal focus, if you decide to fund our work. Who knows, Mr. Rothman, perhaps you will succeed in turning us all into compatibilists. In case you don't know what that is, these are people who believe, even in light of these findings, that we remain free in how we think and act, in all the ways that matter.
Well then, perhaps I should be looking into their ideas as well.
No, certainly not. Before you do that, Mr. Rothman, I hope you will at least give us a chance. Anyway, please don't read anything by Sam Gillis because that would only discourage you.
I have, and I'm not discouraged. Some of what he says is certainly true. Many choices in life have been made for us that I agree with. However, we still need brain imaging research to get to the bottom of what's going on. All I want to determine is whether it is my mind, in other words, my volition, or my brain that initiates neural activity. That's the key.
And I agree wholeheartedly. The prevailing view in neuroscience is that consciousness is an emergent phenomenon of the brain. Therefore, firing of the brain's neurons and the tubules within it leads to consciousness and the feeling of free will.
But what starts the process? Does my free will, my volition, start them firing? Or is it something out of my control? The answer to this question is more important than either of you realize, or would even be capable of, coming to terms with.
Hearing this, both of the doctors, as well as their staff, pause for just a moment and then continue along with their work. However, Stan's comment made them wonder if one of the most powerful men in the world was onto something they were not privy to, or whether he was becoming out of touch with reality. I see that we're going to have to pacify Mr. Rothman, one way or the other, if we want our funding. I'll do what has to be done, Dr. Hawks tells himself.
That's the reason my next efforts will be on experiments that monitor single neurons, and we are working on this right now. What starts the process? That's what we need to find out, once and for all. Perhaps physicists who propound the transactional interpretation of reality are right. What they think is that a wave of possibilities is sent both backwards and forwards in time. Conceivably, the original thought for action may have been projected forwards in time, thereby making it only seem that neurons are firing before you are consciously aware of a decision or action. Nevertheless, I believe our own minds initiate the action, and therefore, we, that is, you or I, are ultimately in control of our brains.
Yes, that's a very interesting idea. I had heard about that concept but had not considered it in relation to these kinds of experiments. Is there any way to test for it?
I don't know, but that's one of the reasons I want to start monitoring single neurons and recording exact times of excitation. That's what I was preparing to work on next, and with your support, maybe we can get to the bottom of what's ultimately happening in our brains. To be fair, Mr. Rothman, I should mention the work of another researcher whose experiments in what he calls passive frame theory span more than 10 years and is being taken up by others who...
I've read a little on his ideas and I don't agree with them. To call the mind an interpreter and to compare it to a kind of curator of ideas turns all of us into mindless search engines without guiding principles. It's like seeing everything through a microscope without ever seeing the whole picture. You are certainly perceptive for including this idea in your summary of research avenues, but I think it's a fruitless pursuit that I could not fund.
Stan spent the rest of the morning and part of the afternoon hooked up to the brain scanners. Predictably, Stan's test results were pretty much the same as other test participants. The machines picked up Stan's brain activity between 7 and 9 seconds prior to his reporting his decision to choose the right or the left buttons. Stan even asked his maid, Marie, who agreed, but only reluctantly, to be tested, and again the results were consistent with Stan's. Her brain activity became active many seconds before she actually decided to press the red or green button. Narrator. It was during Marie's testing that Stan thought of a new twist on the experiment. Stan, give me the headset again and then keep the fMRI running until I tell you to stop it. In a couple of minutes at your discretion, I want you to decide when to turn the top card over so I can see it, and at that same moment, record the time you showed it to me.
Okay, so, Doctor, when did my brain first show signs of becoming active during this test? Pretty much when we expected it. About 7 seconds beforehand, however. Keep in mind that your brain was already on alert to perform an activity. So here again, there's an element of the readiness potential, where the brain begins to prepare itself for action, knowing it will be asked to do something in the near future. That in and of itself can cause neurons to fire.
That makes sense. So we need to find a way to use this equipment on someone who has no idea that he or she will be asked to perform a task at all. It must be unexpected, so as to cut down on anticipatory reactions. Okay? I'm willing to go forward with funding these trials. I think there are a lot of different avenues we can explore. Write me up your proposal as soon as possible. I'm assuming these experiments will require between 12 and 24 months to complete, but we'll see. Also, I don't know where you are thinking of doing your work. However, I do have another offer for you, if you are amenable. You see, I have paid to build a new science wing at a school in the States, near one of my homes there. I can give you part of that building to work out of, and provide you with all of the equipment you will need. That is, if you agree to relocate there. Think it over, and let me know what you want to do. I think you'll find that I will be more than generous in getting you set up there, including assistance with housing. I have some calls to make, so I'll leave you with Samantha to coordinate your return trip. Thank you for your coming here on such short notice. I will expect to hear back from you soon, and by that I mean in the next 2 weeks.